The year was 1957, and the town was Danville, Virginia. Mrs. Frances Spencer was asked by her church to decorate the very large Christmas tree in her sanctuary. She was raised in the house of missionaries. Her parents were missionaries, and she had a knack for decorating and for fashion. So she had a resume. She was ready to take on this important task of decorating the tree. She began by asking herself, she was a mother herself, and she said, how would Mary want us to celebrate the birthday of Jesus? She told herself, well, in modern times, the way we celebrate birthdays is we have a cake with candles on it. We place the name of the individual whose birthday it is on the cake. And as she looked at this bare tree in the sanctuary, she goes, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to place the name of Jesus and this title of Christ all over the Christmas tree. But instead of using the English language, something that we could read easily, she decided to use the Greek letters, the Greek monogram. And she came up with, this was one of the first ones she came up as a decoration, the chi and the rho together. It was one of the first Chrismons that Mrs. Spencer came up with. Over time, she developed more and more Chrismons. This was one that she developed years later that became more sophisticated. And with each of them, they have deeper meanings. This one here is the Epiphany star. It reminds us of the wise men who looked at the star as they approached Jerusalem. The 5 points to the star point to the 5 wounds of Christ on the cross. Well, as more and more time went on, this tradition began to grow from 1957 into many other denominations. Later, Mrs. Spencer just said, I just wanted to decorate the Christmas tree so that the church and everyone who came into it, that everything pointed to Christ. Well, that's what Christmas is all about, and that's what this love gift is all about as well. As we as the church want everything that we do to point towards Christ. Tonight, you're going to hear of stories of mercy, but they're more than just stories of mercy and money that we receive. All the things that we do, all the mercy that we offer, it's our hope and our desire that they too point to Christ. We're a very large church, and most of the mercy needs that come through this church you'll never know about. But I can assure you that our deacons work tirelessly. I would beg to say there's probably not a week that goes by that we don't receive one type of mercy request in our church where there's a real need from a member or someone in our community who's in need. Tonight, you're going to hear just a couple of stories. They really are just the tip of the iceberg of a much larger ministry that we have here in our church. And it really would be impossible for each one of you to get intimately involved with every single case that comes our way. But you know what you can do? You can be a part of the mercy ministry of this church tonight. You can give to this particular fund, which is just a workhorse in the life of our church, administering mercy to people who are in need. This past week, I was told the story of one of our members who actually looked at the Chrismons on these trees and began to notice, and it was told that they were beginning to be out of date. The ones that were on here last year were nearly 24 years old. The brilliant white color that once marked them had faded to a dull brown. A lot of the gold trim that was around the Chrismons were beginning to fall off. And she took it upon herself this past year to construct 73 of these Chrismon ornaments. If you were to talk to this lady, she would tell you very quickly, she would say, I can't do everything. I can't meet all the needs that this church has, but I can do something. I can participate in allowing this church to sparkle with the love of Christ. She can't do everything, but she was determined to do something. Tonight, as you hear these stories, know you probably will not become intimately involved with every single one of them. And believe me, there's more stories than we have time to tell, but you can be a part of them tonight. As we receive our offering tonight, you'll hear more about what this fund does, but please give generously to it tonight and throughout the year. As a reminder, every time we receive the Lord's Supper, you can continue to give this important ministry fund in the life of our church. I'm going to ask the chairman now, Byron Morris, to come forward, I believe, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about what the deacons' mercy ministry does throughout the year.